So you just had an argument with your spouse. You yelled at your kid. Your oldest is going off to university. You had a disagreement with a friend. What do all these things have in common? They are great ways to reset the energy with a relationship clearing because they're all about relationships. Stick with me and I'll show you 3 benefits of a relationship clearing. Hi, my name is Christine Dossi. I'm the CEO and founder of Sacred Vitality, and I'm here today to talk to you about the benefits of a relationship clearing. It's a form of energy healing that focuses specifically on resetting, rewiring, re-energizing the energetic patterns that happen in relationships. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you can get a weekly video on energy healing, and follow me, hit the notification and all the fun things that we always ask for. Okay, so we're all in relationships. We're energetic beings. We're in relationships with everything in our lives, from food to the things in our house to the people that we're constantly interacting with. Sometimes these relationships are really healthy and they energize us and we feel really good. Other times, especially long-standing relationships, we end up developing certain energetic patterns that maybe aren't so healthy, don't feel so good, end up feeling draining, and result in patterns of the victim villain or the parent child, which I talked about in my last video, which I'll link down below if you want to check that out. So when that begins to happen, it is really valuable and beneficial to reset the energy so that you can feel more like yourself and also be able to get out of these patterns that don't really feel so good. So what are these 3 benefits that you can get from an energy clearing? The first one is basically being able to call back all of your energy. When we're interacting with other people, we're having energetic exchanges of our energy all the time, but we don't always call it back. This is why sometimes when you're interacting with others or out in public spaces like the mall, that happens to me a lot, you can feel really drained and brought down after being in those kinds of spaces. And maybe you're like, what is happening? Or if you find that you're still thinking about an ex or a relationship from a long time ago and your energy is still there, because energy doesn't understand time or space or any of that stuff. So when you reach out for that, your energy is still trapped in the past. You're not able to utilize it in the present moment for what you want to manifest now going forward. And that's how oftentimes we get stuck in the nostalgic memories in our past and thinking about how we could have done things better, or if I had only said this, or if I had done things differently. That's because the energy is still stuck there. So when we call back all that energy, we cleanse it all and release it of the emotional charges and the energetic attachments. And we just allow our own energy to come home and fill our own field again and make us feel vital and more complete, which just feels amazing because you get to feel more like yourself. So calling back all your energy is the first benefit of a relationship healing, and that allows you to be home in your own frequency and your own resonance. The second benefit of a relationship healing is being able to release contracts and vows. So if you've never heard of I'm sure you've heard of contracts. We all use them all the time. Employment contracts, legal contracts for marriage, right? It's the same idea energetically. It's like, let's get married, or I'm going to be the smart one in the relationship, or, I'm going to be in charge of the money, right? They could be very overt, especially contracts. It's almost like a verbal agreement that you make with someone. And then vows, energetic vows, are a little more subtle and sometimes unconscious and harder to get a hold of if you're not really looking for them. And in this case, we're talking about, like, I'm always going to be in control, or, you knew me when you met me that I had a fiery temper. And so that's how I am, deal with it kind of energy. Or you're going to be daddy's little girl, or you're always going to be dumb about money, right? Like, these vows are ways that we give each other identity markers, if you will, so that we can learn who someone is and what to expect when we deal with them. So if you have that friend that's always forgetful, and maybe the unspoken vow is to have patience with them, or that, they're going to understand that you're not a patient person. And so with an unspoken vow, this creates an argumentative pattern where, I'm vowing that I'm going to stay this way. And I'm vowing that if you stay this way, it's going to piss me off, basically. So in that case, that clearly does not work, right? So we want to be able to reset these. And the other tricky part with the contracts and vows is it's kind of like locking you in. You lock in a term for your mortgage and things like that, or a rent for a year. But when we lock each other into contracts and vows, again, the subconscious does not understand time and space. So you're locked in forever. So if when you were younger with your siblings and they were the smart one and you were the pretty one, or they were the athletic one and you were the musical one, it's like, then you'll grow up and you'll end up, deferring or refusing to engage in, well, my sister was the smart one. That's not me. And that might dictate how you go and behave, because you don't want to step in her realm, right? Or if someone else comes, sibling again, and they're being musical and you're like, no, that's me. I'm the musical one, right? And so it gets into all these beliefs about who we are, what we deserve, what we're allowed to have, and where we're allowed to go and explore in this beautiful thing called life. So when we find these vows and contracts, especially when we find that we're getting limited by them and they're blocking us from being able to move forward and explore who we desire to be, not who we were, but what kind of person we want to be moving forward, then it's necessary to undo these contracts and finalize these vows and finish up the karma between them so that we can move on and create new vows and contracts, because that's what we do. But we need to bring that conscious awareness. And these are also going to help you reset boundaries or set boundaries if you never did before. And also going to help just in the overall dynamics of your relationships with others. Fair disclosure. Sometimes when you resolve a contract and a vow and it was super beneficial to someone else and not necessarily beneficial to you, there is often kickback. And if you try to reset the boundaries, you might get pushback for that as well. You might lose friends. This is all part of the healing process. But if it's not making you feel good and happy, it needs to go, right? And if that means that the other person ends up going too, I think that if you're ready to heal and you're ready to feel better for yourself, then that becomes okay. But it is something to consider. And so the second one, so the first one is calling back all your energies so you can feel more whole, then healing and resolving all the contracts and vows so that you're not bound energetically, right? And then the third one is also a different way of being bound to others, where you get to cut any unhealthy cords, any unhealthy energetic cords. And what I mean when I say this is that because we're energetic beings and we're interacting with people all the time energetically, there are people that will try to cord to us, and they will try to dictate again in a different way what is the terms of the energetic exchange that's happening. And it often aligns with our chakras, because those are the energy centers that process most of the energy that comes in and out of our bodies. So you will find that, at the root, they might be, a kid who's constantly siphoning money off of you, or you end up in a relationship where the other person is always borrowing money or is really bad with money, right? So, and then they're relying on you. That's how you know you have a cord, is if someone is constantly relying on you and asking you to be responsible for something they should be responsible for. That's the biggest indicator that there's a cord going on. So again, root chakra, make them feel safe in some way, support them financially in some way. With the sacral, we're getting into the sexual relationships, or even being creative. Like even if you're in a situation where your partner or whoever you're in the relationship with always wants you to come up with the plans of things to do and make the schedule and, figure out all the things. And they never do it. And maybe they're like, oh, but you're so good at it. That's a cord that needs to be got. Okay. Solar plexus, anything to do around power. Anytime you're hearing like a lot of shoulds, you're feeling compelled to take care of someone, solve their problems, make them feel better, even at the sacrifice of yourself feeling better. With the heart, always we have a heart cord, which is unconditional love. That's really the only healthy cord to have with another person. Love and accept them unconditionally. Any other condition on that love is often some kind of cord that needs to be severed or removed because it's draining. It's going to drain your energy. With the throat, it's how you're allowed to express yourself, what you're allowed to say. If someone's always saying that you're too much, or your tone, or talk too much, right? Or sharing too much, that's a cord, right? It can also be a weapon, but that's a different video, a different conversation. But if you're feeling like, you're always having to fill in the conversation, you're the one who's always having to talk, and you have certain people that when you talk to them, or you feel compelled to say things that you didn't really want to share or say, right? Those are cords to be looked at. The third eye is anything around your identity, how you're allowed to show up or be seen. And cords go both ways, right? So are you keeping other people locked in certain identities? Are you keeping other people forced to talk to you in a certain way or only say things a certain way? Then with the crown, it's the relationship with divine and your beliefs about divine and what you allow other people to believe about something bigger, and whether, you're really narrowly focused on if there's a right way to have a relationship with the divine or not, and you feel owned by certain beliefs that maybe you grew up with that may or may not be your actual own authentic beliefs, but you feel compelled out of loyalty to family or community to continue to foster and promote these beliefs. Energetic cord. So when we remove the energetic cords and we kind of seal up the space, then again, you're reclaiming your own power, you're reclaiming your own energy, and you're allowing for yourself to have a new perspective, a healthier, more loving, compassionate, forgiving perspective for how to engage in a relationship. And you're not forcing someone else to be in an identity that maybe doesn't suit them anymore. And same for you, vice versa. So these are all different ways that these are 3 beneficial ways that relationship clearings can help you reset, rewire, reestablish a healthy energetic pattern with another person. Again, it's calling back your energy, it's resolving the contracts and vows, and it's cutting any energetic cords that are not producing a healthy interaction with you or the other person. So I'll link below if you're interested in more information about an energetic relationship clearing. They are super helpful and will help you feel more energized. And of course, just yourself and in the relationships that you have with other people. So thanks again for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.